All right, so we're going to talk about international relations. I hope you guys know what this blue machine is, the TARDIS. If you watch Doctor Who, you know what it is. If you don't know what it is. It's a time travel machine. And my husband happens to be from England, so I have watched a lot of Doctor Who. But to learn about international relations and why international relations is important to Rotary, you really have to go back in time and go back to the very beginning of Rotary. My computer is not loving me this morning. Okay, who can hazard a guess as to where this picture was taken and what year it was taken? Let's see, if you want, I guess you can just hazard a guess in the chat room if you'd like to guess where and when this photo was taken. Chicago, you got it. Absolutely. Can anybody guess what year this was? And I went back and pulled the actual year, 1905. Oh man, you know your Rotary history. Yeah, this is Chicago in 1905. And the reason that's important, trying to get my next, there we go. The reason that's important is because Rotary was founded in Chicago in 1905. And this is what Chicago looked like in 1905, which is as crowded as it is now. Can anybody guess who the guy in the picture is? He was a really tiny guy. He was very small. I'll let you take a guess as to who the guy in the picture is. He's the founder of Rotary. So yep, Paul Harris. Well, you guys know your Rotary history. Somebody's doing a really good job. So Rotary was founded in 1905 by Paul Harris. He was an attorney. He just wanted to get together with friends and talk to friends in different positions. He brought together 4 of his friends. They started meeting on a regular basis. They called the organization Rotary because they rotated offices. Every week they would meet in a different office. But this is what I always find amazing, because we did not have great communication systems in 1905. I mean, we had what, letters, telegraph. By 1910, Rotary had expanded to Canada. So technically they were international by 1910. By 1911, Dublin, Ireland. By 1912, London, England. So within 7 years of founding Rotary, it was an international organization. In 1917, they founded the Rotary International Foundation. Arch Klump, who was one of the original members, founded that with $26. They now have $1 billion in their endowment. So if you look at that, that means that the interest off that endowment funds our international projects every year. So we have hundreds of millions of dollars that go into international projects every year. So not only is the Rotary International Foundation huge and it has a lot of money, it was rated the best foundation in America last year. And those ratings are based on how ethical the foundation is, how they use their money, the way that they manage their monies. And so it was the #1 foundation in America last year. So it's something we as members of Rotary Interact, Rotaract, whatever we're members of, can be really proud of the way that Rotary handles the funds that are donated. My computer is not thrilled with having to scroll. There we go. Okay, so now we are around the world, right? So this is why international relations are so important. We have 35,000, give or take, because that number fluctuates daily, 35,000 clubs around the world, over 1.2 million Rotarians. And then we've got the Rotary International Foundation funding our global grant projects, our international projects that we do in our 6 areas of focus, which are disease prevention, maternal and child health, economic health, the environment, the 7th area of focus. So we also work on a national or on an international basis. We're working to eradicate polio. And for younger people, even for people like me, who's not super young, polio was not a part of my life. I was born after the polio vaccine was developed. Polio was a part of my mom's life. When my mom was young, they would do what we're doing now with COVID when they have polio outbreaks. People would be quarantined, schools would close, nobody was allowed to leave their home when they had a polio outbreak. And polio, if you're not familiar with what polio does, it paralyzes your muscles. And the muscles that it can paralyze the muscles in your arms and legs, but it can paralyze the muscles that control your breathing. And that's why you would see children, pictures of children in what's called an iron lung. And it was actually a machine that pushed their chest in and out to breathe for them because they could not breathe on their own. And sometimes they were covered and were able to breathe on their own, and sometimes they didn't, and they died. So polio in our country was very huge in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, and then we got the vaccine. What's hard to believe for many of us who live in countries where this vaccine's been around forever is that there are still parts of the world where this vaccine is not readily available, and children still are paralyzed and die from polio. And when I've traveled to different parts of the world, seeing people my age and younger, children who were paralyzed from the effects of polio is really eye-opening. So we work as an organization, we've worked since 1988 to try to eradicate polio around the world. We are very close to doing it, but every time we get this close, a war breaks out and we have a big polio outbreak, or COVID breaks out and they can't vaccinate children. So that's one of Rotary's big international efforts around the world. And then we gather on an international basis. We have an international convention. Last year it was in Hamburg, Germany. This year it was supposed to be in Hawaii. It was canceled. Well, it was moved online. Next year it's in Taiwan. So hopefully the 2021 convention will go on as planned. And that's an incredible way. If you're ever able to get to a convention, I strongly encourage you to go, because you will see thousands and thousands of Rotarians from all over the world. It's the one place where we gather from everywhere. And just to see people in their national costumes, to just talk to people from around the world is absolutely amazing. So every year, and I commend you guys for having the proper background, because I've seen a lot of last year's backgrounds on people, but you guys, the younger crowd gets it. Every year we have a different theme. The incoming president brings in a different theme. This year it's Rotary Opens Opportunities, and it's the 3 doors. And that's a great theme, because really emphasizing that part of how Rotary opens opportunities is it gives you the opportunity to get to know people from around the world. Just even on this training, there's people from all over the world. That's phenomenal to me. That's amazing. I have friends from all over the world because of Rotary, people I would have never met, but I've met through Rotary. Last year on my birthday, I do a lot of work in India. I got a phone call from a friend who was at the Taj Mahal, and he called me and said, "I'm at the Taj Mahal. I want to wish you happy birthday." That's really cool. And that's the reason I'm in Rotary, is because of the international. And I had to tell it a little bit. I've been in Rotary for 11 years. When I joined Rotary, I joined because it was a work obligation. I was told when I took my job, heading up a health education nonprofit, that they paid for the Rotary membership, and it was part of my job to join Rotary. I wasn't that thrilled with having to do that. I really didn't need one more thing to do. I really didn't want one more thing to do. So I joined Rotary, and at first it was like, this is fine. People are nice. It's okay. But then when I discovered the international work that Rotary did, and how I could work anywhere in the world that I wanted to, I could partner with a club anywhere in the world where I wanted to, then I got really excited about Rotary. And that is what, and the thing with Rotary is you have to find what excites you about Rotary. With some people, it's the local service. With some people, it's just getting to know people and having a great friend group that you do things with. With people like me, it's the international component. That's what excites me, is the international component. And the one question people ask me over and over and over again is, how do you find those international clubs? How do you link to an international club? You've got the contact information for every club in the world. You can just reach out to a club. That's not what I found to be the most effective way. The most effective way I found to link with international clubs is to look in your own community, look to the people that you know, and find the international citizens who are living in your own community, because they understand the culture of their home country and they know the needs of their home country. All of the international projects that I have worked on have had a start with someone living in Fort Wayne. Now, that someone was not originally from Fort Wayne. They're originally from another country, but they're the ones who are bringing the projects, and they're the ones who are coordinating in their home country, because often language is a real issue. And when several years ago, our club did projects in Togo, Africa. Togo speaks French. And we did not have anybody who was from Togo in our club. We did not have anybody who spoke French in our club. So every time we got a communication from Togo, we would have to take it to the university. We would have to get it translated. They would send us back the translation. We would then write our response. We would email our response back to the university for it to be translated. That was really tough. And after we went through that experience, we realized that was probably not the best way to go about that. And that for future international projects, we should really have somebody in our club, in our area, who was from that country. So that's how we work. It's not how everybody works. And I will tell you, a lot of projects get instigated in groups like this, where you're in a meeting with people from all over the world, and somebody will say, hey, we would like to do a project with our local hospital or our local school. Would anybody like to collaborate with us? Projects get started like that, and that's phenomenal. But all of our projects after Togo have been generated by people in our community who are from another country. And we work very closely with them. So this is a lot of the work I do. The Sai Sanjeevani Children's Hospitals in India. I was approached, I've been chair of our International Service Committee, I'm gonna say 10 years, co-chair now. I'm gonna say 10 years, because this has always been my interest, and frankly, nobody else has wanted to take over it because it's a lot of work, because we do a lot of international projects. So I got approached by one of the Rotarians in my club who's from India. And he said, my next door neighbor is a physician, and he has gotten from India, and he has gotten very involved with this children's hospital. They've got one location, they're opening 4 more locations, and they do one thing, they only do one thing. They do heart surgery, but they do it completely free of charge for low-income families from India and from surrounding countries. And he said, I've heard all about this. I've looked into it. It's really great. So he said, could you sit down and meet with my neighbor? He really wants to do a global grant. So I sat down and met with him. Now Praveen Kalapara, the physician, is a very, very close friend of mine. And we sat down, we talked about doing a global grant. I explained to him how they work. There's a lot of hoops to jump through with a global grant. And just to educate you guys about global grants are the money coming from the Rotary International Foundation. And you can apply for a global grant. You have to have an international club partner with you. So the host club for our projects are the Indian clubs, and we've partnered with several of them. So the host club is the Indian club. We in Fort Wayne are the international club. Both clubs have to raise money, because global grants only match up to half the money that you raise. So to give you an idea, our first project was $475,000. That meant between our 2 clubs, we had to raise well over $200,000. That seems kind of impossible, but one of the things that you have to know is that our districts, every year when Rotarians give to the foundation, 1/3 of those dollars come back to the district in the form of district designated funds. So your district governor controls those, and they can gift those to a global grant. So we had private donations, we had corporate donations, we had district designated funds, and we raised the money really quickly. And I'll be honest, a lot of it was raised in India. A lot of our monies are always raised in India. And we were able to do that grant pretty quickly, and it got approved pretty quickly, and we installed a heart cath lab. And the importance of that was that they were doing, at the time, open heart surgeries on all the children. And some of the children didn't need an open heart surgery. They could have a cath surgery where they insert wires, and they're able to do it a lot less invasively. And then those children could recover quicker, and there was less chance of infection. So that heart cath lab treats about 2,000 children a year in that location, and it means that they get to go home faster. And this hospital system not only treats children for free, they house and feed the parents while the children are there, because often these parents have traveled hundreds and hundreds of miles to get surgery for their child. So we have 10 open grants right now, which is the maximum you can have. We've raised, that should say nearly 4 million. We're at 3.9 million. All of our grants have been in India, with the exception of the hospital system has expanded to Fiji, the island of Fiji in the South Pacific. And we have a grant under consideration to put in a heart cath lab in Fiji. So predominantly what we do is we do monies for equipment and for surgeries. So we underwrite surgeries, we pay for surgical suites. So that's where they perform the surgery, which is usually about 300,000 to 400,000 per room. And then cath labs, which run between 400,000 and 700,000. So we do big grants. And we have a lot of people on the ground who are raising money through the clubs, through the district, through individuals, and it is really amazing. I'm looking real quick at the people on here. Man, we really have people from all over the world on here, and I see the Dominican Republic. I've done work in the DR. That's a beautiful, beautiful place. So basically, and this is just a little bit about the hospitals and why we work with them. In India, congenital heart disease is the #1 birth defect, and about 10% of children who die, babies who die, it's because of congenital heart defects. And often, because of the population in India, if you're very poor, by the time your child reaches the top of the wait list for you to be able to have a surgery in a government hospital, your child may have died. So it's really imperative that these children get treated when they're very little. So that's the reason we focus. And then these are the two areas. These are two of the cath lab on the left we funded. It's on their website, and we funded that one. Not sure if we funded the surgery suite on the right, but I know that cath lab is Raipur, and we funded the one in Raipur. And this is actually a picture of us in Raipur. So this is the dedication of the cath lab that we did in Raipur. Francis and Bobby Mustafa are my guests who are going to talk about their project in Africa that just entered. And so one of the things that when you do a global grant, an international grant, they request that you go there to see the finished product. That's part of what RI requests, is that you send somebody from your club. We sent 6 people from our club because we wanted to go and see it, and it was really cool. And we had an amazing experience in India, and I'm also working on a grant to open a health education center in India. So that's one grant we're working on that's not related to these hospitals, and that's in Chandigarh. But this is several Indian members from our club who were involved in the grants, and then the local Greater Raipur Club was also there. So, and this is one of the coolest things that happened. And this happens, this is one of the huge benefits of Rotary and knowing people around the world and being able to reach out to people around the world. This boy's name is Khalid, and he's actually from Jalalabad, Afghanistan. And I reached out to Steve Brown, who is with the La Jolla Club in San Diego, California, in the United States. And I reached out to him because he is a former trustee of the Rotary International Board, and he does a lot of grants. And I just wanted advice. I just wanted advice on how to get these approved and how to raise funds and things like that. And he started talking to me about his global grants, which are all in Afghanistan. And he was saying to me that children in Afghanistan who are born with heart disease die because there's no treatment. Their hospitals don't have the equipment, their physicians are not trained, and for the most part, these children will die unless their families are wealthy and can get them to another country for surgery. And he said, we watch every year, I'm in Afghanistan all the time, and I see so many children die, and it's tragic. And I said, well, these hospitals in India will treat those children. You just have to get them there. And if you know your world geography, Afghanistan and India aren't all that far apart. It's not that expensive of a flight. And he was so excited. And he said, I'm going to reach out to our clubs in Afghanistan. I'm going to tell them this. We are going to start sending children. This little boy, Khalid, was the first child who was sent from Afghanistan to India to receive heart surgery. Khalid was born with a congenital heart defect. He's 3 in this picture. His parents were told that by his 5th birthday, Khalid would have died. And I cannot imagine as a mom what it is like to be told that your child will surely die and that they could be saved, but they can't be saved where you live. And I cannot imagine, so the president of the Jalalabad Club was the one who reached out to Khalid's family. They were working through the hospital system to identify children who could be sent to India for surgery. He actually went to the family. I cannot imagine what it was like, and I don't know how it went down. I don't know if he knocked on the door. I don't know if he called her on her phone. I don't know how this went down. But I cannot imagine what it must have been like as Khalid's mother and father to have this person from Rotary get in touch with you and tell you they were going to, at no cost, fly your son to India, get him the surgery that he needed so he could live a long and healthy life. I cannot imagine. It must have seemed like a miracle. But what it really was, well, it was a miracle, but it was Rotarians. It was just Rotarians from around the world networking to save this little boy's life. So Khalid and his dad flew to Faridabad, India. They had surgery in the surgical suite that we funded through Fort Wayne and the Faridabad India Club. This is Khalid on the day he went home, and he is healthy and he is expected to live a long and healthy life. Since then, they sent several more children from Afghanistan, but the more important thing is that the Afghanistan Ministry of Health has collaborated with the hospitals in India. They are going to be sending physicians from Afghanistan to the hospitals in India to be trained on how to do these heart surgeries. And then Rotary clubs are going to do global grants to get the equipment in the hospital that they need to do the surgeries. So that is the power of Rotary. That is the power of the international relations of Rotary. So it's the power to save the life of this one little boy, but it's also the power to save the lives of thousands of children who will be getting these heart surgeries. And this is just one little teeny example of what Rotary does on a worldwide basis. This is just the work I am involved in. There's so much more than what I'm involved in. One of the things I was asked to talk about too was twinning clubs and how you collaborate with other clubs internationally. We don't technically have a twin club. This is the Bombay Airport Club in Mumbai, India. They invited me. We did a big global grant with them with the Children's Hospital in Mumbai that just opened, I think, about a year and a half ago. But here's what's cool about this picture. This is Mumbai, this is Bombay, Queens. I know several people there from working with that global grant, but the guy in the top row, 2 pictures to the right of me, is Raj Dubey, who is my good friend from Raipur. So when he heard I was going to be at Bombay Queens, he jumped on the Zoom meeting so that he could say hi, because we've done 2 projects in Raipur with their hospital. So one of the things that Zoom has done is it's made it a lot easier to do this, because previously, if I went to a Rotary Club meeting in India, I was in India, boots on the ground. Now I can be in Fort Wayne and I'm doing a club meeting. But so we have not official twin relationships, but we definitely have a lot of really close relationships with clubs around the world. A twin club is actually 2 clubs who have entered into a more formal agreement. It could just be for a global grant. It could be just to get to know each other. It could also be for friendship exchange or cultural exchange. So we actually, the Raipur Club, we did a friendship exchange with them 2 years ago with their district. And a friendship exchange is when one district sends a certain number of Rotarians over to another international district, and then they send a group back to your district. So really you get to know each other's districts. And we do a friendship exchange every year, not this year because COVID. But we've done Brazil, Turkey, India, I can't even remember. We basically, our district does them every single year. At the stage you're at, Rotary Youth Exchange is really where it's at if you want to spend a year in another international location. You can do Rotary Youth Exchange. Not this year because COVID. So literally, I feel like that's all I ever say is not this year. But as starting next year, Rotary Youth Exchange is an incredible program where you go to another district and they put the Rotarian or the Interact member in different homes throughout the year. So you really travel around the district and you really learn different. Well, you learn the language if it's a different language because you have to go to school. But you just learn a lot of different really cool culture. And everybody I know who's gone on Rotary Youth Exchange has absolutely loved it. I want to talk about another project that we've had ongoing, a relationship that we have, and I have 2 guests here today. I don't know if it's just Francis or Francis and Bobby, but I have some guests here today who are going to talk about their actual project, because it's fine for me to talk about lots of projects, but I'd rather have you hear from somebody who's actually running an organization that we do projects with. So this is, in way of introduction of Francis, the Medina Village School, and it's located in Sierra Leone in West Africa. And if you're not familiar with the history of Sierra Leone, which I was not until I met Francis and heard about the Medina Village School, they had a 10-year-long civil war, and most of the schools and the hospitals were destroyed. And Francis is from Sierra Leone, and we knew Francis because Francis Mustafa taught in Fort Wayne, in the schools in Fort Wayne for many, many years. He was very well known. He was the teacher of the year in Indiana. So he's a very well-respected, very well-known teacher. He then developed this school in Sierra Leone. And this is what I mean when I said, when you're looking for international projects, look within your own community for your partners. This is a wonderful partnership because Francis still goes back and forth between Sierra Leone and Fort Wayne all the time. So we see him in person. In fact, he'll be coming to one of our upcoming club meetings to update us. But we also know him, and we know that he's very ethical, and we know the way the school is run. Because I will be honest, there have been issues over the years with people partnering with organizations that they did not know, and it turned out that those organizations were not ethical, and that they were basically sending fake pictures and fake updates. You can avoid that when you partner with people in your own community that you actually know who are from another country. Initially, we helped out with, I think the first time and I might be wrong about this, but I think the first time we did a grant project with Medina Village School, it was for their solar well project. Last year, we did a fundraiser. We collected school supplies for the kids, and they shipped them over. And our club just got so excited about that I told Francis, we'll just make that an annual commitment that we'll do that, because I've never seen Rotarians get so excited about buying crayons, and people just went nuts. So we're going to help with that every year. Right now, they're in the process of building a health center. As I mentioned before, many of the hospitals were destroyed. People don't have access to health care. So not only are they providing education, which is desperately needed, they are also going to be providing health care, which is desperately needed, but they need to dig a deeper well than what they have now. And that's the next project that we'll be looking at working with them on, is digging that deeper well. Oh, this is a picture of crayons. These are not the crayons I collected. They were scattered all over my house. I had boxes of crayons everywhere, all over my house. So I'd like to introduce Francis about the Medina School and the current project that you're working on there.
Well, which way do you want to do it?
Well,
we have a 4-minute video, but it's not of the clinic part that we're doing now. It's from the beginning of the school. And otherwise,
just tell a brief,
tell what's happening.
Yeah, just tell a brief account. I've been in Fort Wayne for nearly 30 years, being a teacher, but originally from Sierra Leone, West Africa. And the school itself, the school video or the school itself is just a very vivid illustration of how and the power of education. In my village, that was started by my father, my mother had lost 6 children in a row before age 5. I was born a twin. Shortly after we were born, my twin brother died. I wasn't expected to live. But fortunately for me, a lady had gone to school and had been trained as a nurse, one of the very, very few in those early days. And she came and set up a small clinic about 20 miles from the village. And so when my father heard of this lady and my twin brother died, he took me to this lady and said, effectively said this: "We have heard that you have been educated. Here, prove it." And she turned me over to this lady. As far as I know, the only difference between my 7 siblings that have died before age 5 and me was the intervention of this educated lady. There, instantly, that made the case for education to my father. And so he was the first one that started sending kids to school. So, as I grew up and I was told the story, and that really gave me a very, very great respect for education. And so when I came over, finished there, and I had the opportunity to come to study in the US, I'd always felt that I need to go back someday to build a school. And so we, after I retired, we went back, and in 7 years, we started in 2011, and we opened school. We finished building in 2013, opened school in 2013. So we have been operating now for 7 years. But our goal was to go ahead and continue until secondary in school. But then we ran into a serious problem, and that was the health problem. Many of the hospitals were ransacked and destroyed during the war. And in that area, there was no decent hospital or healthcare. We have lost several children to simple diseases that can be cured. But also, one of the biggest healthcare problems in that country is the maternity death. Maternity death in Sierra Leone is the highest in the world. That hit us too, because one of our cooks was pregnant and died in delivery. And so we are trying to build a mini hospital or clinic to try to address both of these problems, especially the maternity health, but also for the children in the area and hopefully the community too. So it all boils down now to we decided to take a detour and just leave the school now. Now that we built the elementary school, it's going good. So we decided to take a detour and address the health need and so on. So we are building a hospital, and as I speak, they are roofing it now, and so we're going to be continuing with that. So, but in any case, what we're going to do is show you a very short video of how far we have come, particularly with the school. And the clinic, as far as that goes, we don't have a video on that yet, but maybe we can show you a few pictures of what's going on. How about the video? Can you get to it?
I will try. It says 300 students. Since that time, it is enlarged. We have 405 students now. And here's the video.
Over 1,200 schools were destroyed in the Civil War of Sierra Leone. The call of God instilled in the heart of one man born in that country has resulted in the hope of a village called Medina, his birthplace. He is leading the educational and spiritual battle for the soul of the nation, its children. Let's grow deep inside, hand to mouth. Our secret whispers of a dream to roll our tired skies. And with a full heart and opening eyes, I see the headlights turn into sunrise. We'll build and reload and hear the deep hurt, and we will step on to greet the new time. Move to the rhythm of a heart that beats for real light. Mountain dance under the footsteps of a world that broke the darkest night. Here with a full heart and opening eyes, I see the headlights turn into sunrise. We'll build a real love to hear the deep hurt.
Early one morning, a young man was strolling on a beach on a low tide. He saw lots of starfish, and he started throwing some of these starfish into the ocean. At the same time, an older gentleman was also strolling the beach. The older gentleman asked this young man, "What are you doing, son?" And the young man replied, "I am throwing these starfish back into the ocean. You see, when the sun comes up, these starfish are going to dry up and they'll die." And the older gentleman asked this young man, "But son, there are thousands of starfish on the beach. What difference will it make?" And as he threw the one in his hand back into the ocean, he commented, "It will make a difference to this one. There are hundreds of thousands of Sierra Leone children that need education, that don't have the opportunity for an education. We may not reach them all, but the few we will reach, it will make a difference to them. And that makes it all worthwhile."
I
Yeah.
think that's the way to do it. Okay.
Well, a few comments following that is that, yes, we have been working with Rotary here, and Rotary has been very helpful to us. And right now, yeah, we are in the process of a drive again for things that we don't get over there easily. like the crayons and what other supplies, right?
Right. The other supplies that are just basic,
Basic supplies,
pencils, that type of
yeah,
thing.
pencil, crayons, scissors, that kind of stuff, and
There
so
are
on.
some things that we now get over there,
Yeah.
like the copybooks. We don't have to ship those anymore, and we just take a lot of things here that either we can't get it over there or the quality is not good at all, so that it's better if we can send it from here. So
yeah, and right now the hospital, we are really very excited about it. We are partnering with another organization. They call it SOS. SOS has guaranteed us or has told us that they will be able to furnish the hospital. And that really has been the highlight. And we had to do our little happy dance for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where we are. If God willing, at the end of September, November, we're heading back, to Sierra Leone. Normally when we go for 2-3 months and work with the teachers and work with the work that is being done there. So we're kind of looking forward to going back and to do with another phase of the hospital development. And that is the phase on putting in doors, windows, and guard bars, and a lot of other ceiling and so on.
Right. The clinic is halfway built. The foundation is in, the walls are up, and now the roof is going on. And that's within this year, we're hoping to have the whole thing finished and then connected. It's right very close to the school, and our school nurse will be moving into the clinic. One wing is an educational wing with a classroom. So we want to connect our students with the clinic to draw the community in. We're going to hopefully have a science camp next summer that will really emphasize for that whole first year all improving the science and health education in our school, and also bringing the community to trust the clinic, to come to the clinic, to have classes and all of that kind of thing, so that the two are really a connected project. So.
Yeah, we have perhaps our ulterior motive, hopefully, is that some of these children will see what's going on in the health field, and hopefully some of them will someday maybe become doctors and will say, okay, I want to go back and work there. And so we are, and one of our emphasis, like I said, is we really want to address this maternity death, as far as in the community. And so that classroom will be used by a midwife to do the prenatal, instructions and that kind of stuff and so on. So that will be probably the first of its kind in that area. Any questions?
We're putting questions in the chat room. So let me monitor. Somebody, and I'll answer this from my standpoint a little bit later, but someone asked, what is the biggest challenge when you're working on an international project? So on your end, what are the biggest challenges with working, trying to work internationally?
I would say that it's connecting to the right people and having trustworthy people who are there, that are well connected and able to communicate with people who are wherever you are sponsoring the project. You mentioned that earlier, though. I think that's something you're well aware of. That's been the strength of this project, is that people here in Fort Wayne truly trust Francis because of his whole career being spent here, and so many people that were his students and saw how he was with his biology teaching here. So that trust has helped a lot with fundraising and with getting people to connect. And the idea that he also goes over there and is connected there, and that we can come back and show all the time what's happening. So
plus also one of the biggest thing that also had really helped, in terms of people here embracing this project wholeheartedly, is that we have had people here go with us. Mm-hmm. And when we opened the school, when we did the school, our pastor from here, from Good Shepherd, went with 2 others that they do some videotaping and so on to come and show people here. After and beyond that time, You know, every other year or so, we get people from here. You know, like a couple years ago, we had 2 teachers from Southside that went with us to help the teacher training. And beyond that, we also have had other members from our church that had gone, you know, there and worked there. In fact, right now, there are plans for 2 or 3 members from our church to go help us to put the solar system in. And then, you know, right now, one of our board members, that a retired teacher, goes with Bobby to do our teacher workshop. You know, she did that last year, and this year she's planning on going again. But you know, we put that, she's putting that on hold until this COVID situation is, you know, dealt with. So we have our people from here to go beside what we come to show here, and they come back and they become, you know, the ones that really become very enthusiastic in helping the fundraising for this the school and the clinic.
So yes, and I completely agree. And that's one of the things that I love about international projects is the opportunity to go there and see it in person. And I would totally agree. Once you go and you see it in person, that's it. You're hook, line, and sinker. You're going to be supporting it. You can't look little kids in the eyes and then not get involved. So here's a great question, and this leads into what I wanted to really do today was how can clubs in other countries get involved with the Medina School Project? Now, I'm going to tell you the answer from my standpoint. At the end, I am going to be giving out my contact information. If you have an interest in your club becoming involved, you can send that to me and I'll collect all that and pass that on to Francis. But I also wanted to kind of be able to work with clubs and help you coordinate how you work within Rotary to get things done. So the procedure to get involved would be get in touch with me and I'll help with that. But from your standpoint, Francis and Bobby, other Interact, and Interact is our Rotary for high school. How can they get involved with the Medina School Project? And I'm pronouncing that wrong, right? It's Medina.
Medina, we call it.
Yes, I am pronouncing it from a city in California that was Medina, but it's Medina where you are. And it's going to be a hard learning curve for me. How can they get involved with the Medina School Project?
Well, besides just basic donations, of course, one of our biggest connectors is the child and teacher sponsorship. So when people really want to get to know a particular child and follow them all the way through from preschool to the end of their career in Medina Village School, we connect that. We have about 163 of our students sponsored right now out of 400. And when we go, since there's no mail service, when we go, we take letters from the sponsors. And then when we come back, we bring back letters from the kids. And that's one way that people can connect. And also the teachers can be sponsored as well. So that's the first thing that comes to my mind as a good way to connect. What else do you have in mind?
Well, yes, sponsorship. And I think how much, $30 a month and
right.
$360
it's $1 a day.
Yeah, we sponsor a child. What we do with that sponsorship, we pull it together, and that's how we take care of the
feeding
supplies, the feeding program,
supplies.
and so on. So that when you sponsor a child, that sponsorship is also going to be helping the rest of the children in the school. And so that's one way people can get involved. And Rotary, as far as their involvement it's been great, especially, collecting supplies and materials that we need to use. And they could also get involved in maybe fundraising in order to address some of the needs, such as needing a deeper well, as far as that goes, or, help with the solar system. And, there's all kinds of things that can be done.
And I'm going to, as I move through, first of all, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to be with us, to talk about your project and show the video. I've been familiar with this project for quite some time because you are from Fort Wayne, and you've lived in Fort Wayne for many years, and it's been very well publicized in Fort Wayne. And I have to say, the last time we voted on giving a gift from our club to this project, the former mayor stood up and said, I know this project very well. This is a good thing, you know, so you can't have any better, you know, than the former mayor of the city saying,
Yeah.
but I think so moving, let me get back to my, there we go. One of the things that was mentioned about international projects was, how do you lead an international project? And basically you lead an international project the same way that you lead anything that you're doing. And you really look at what leadership skills can you bring to the project. There's a lot of, I didn't make up this list of leadership skills. It's out there on the web. There's about 100 different ones that you can find, but I like this one because when you're looking at saying, okay, if you were to say today, I would like to get involved with this project, I would like to do something, but then you're like, what can I do? You really look at what leadership skills do you bring. So you bring knowledge to the table, what you know, you bring experience, what you've done, you bring your personal attributes, who you are, what skills you were born with. Are you a good speaker? Are you a good motivator? Are you a good worker? So you bring those to the table, and then you bring your competencies. What can you do? Are you really good at doing social media? Are you good at doing graphic design? Are you good at writing? And you bring all that to the table, and then you really look at what do we need in this project, and then what can I do? What leadership role can I place? Now, I will tell you from my personal experience, what I bring to the table is I'm really good at grant writing because I have 20 some years experience at it. So if you need any grants written, if you need anything done like that, I'm the person who can do that. And then I bring a lot of public speaking experience. So if you need someone to stand up and really help people get motivated about the project, that's what I can do. You also need to know what your weaknesses are. From my personal experience, if there's a lot of detail work, that's not me. That's not what I'm good at. So make sure you volunteer to lead the things that you're good at. Make sure you don't volunteer to lead the things you're not good at. And then that's kind of how when we really look at putting together an international project and we have a team of people who want to help, this is kind of how we organize it. And then once you get to know people, you sort of know these things about them. Like in our club, you know, Barb Watchman's really good at writing the press release. But when you look at project leadership, it's really about communication, planning, and motivation. You're going to have to communicate not only with your inside team who's working on the project, but you have to communicate with outside people. We make a communication plan. Who do you need to communicate? What do you need to tell them? You know, what exactly do you need to get across to which different people? So we really work a lot on communication. Planning is essential. When are you going to do it? When are you going to get it done? What details need to be done by what time? Who is doing them? I do like a big Excel spreadsheet, and it's the task, the date it's due, who's in charge of it. And then that's what you're going over at each meeting. And motivation. You've got to keep your internal people motivated. You've got to keep your external people motivated. The reality of most projects is that they involve raising money. And when you're looking at raising money, you've got to motivate people to give money, whether it's asking a Rotary Club to give money, whether it's asking an individual to give money. The reality is most projects, you need money to get them done. You look at the Medina School, they need to dig a well. You can't dig a well for free, you know, so you need to raise funds to do that. I wanted to show you too, I'm going to share, somebody said, what's the exact procedure on global grants? Oh gosh, darn it. I don't see it up on my, I'm trying to, I opened one of our I opened one of our global grants. Let me see if it's still open so I could show you. Yeah, it's open. I don't know why it's not show all windows. I wanted to show you what an actual, when we fill out a global grant, what an actual global grant looks like. And I don't know, maybe it's, no, here it is. Okay. All right. So this is what I wanted to do, was take you on the My Rotary site, which is down until August 12th. Surprise, surprise. Because I track all my grants on that. But this is actually the form that we fill out for a global grant. So this is our pediatric cath lab in Fiji. And you can see Fort Wayne is the international club, and Suva East, which is the Fiji club, is the host club. Oh, Jasmine, not much time left. I was just going to get through this and then answer questions. And then you have to fill out the committee members on this. And then the international committee, that's my club. Then you tell a little bit about this, which this is a pediatric cath lab, which area of focus, disease prevention, then your goals, how you measure your goals. And I'm going through this real fast because there's 12 pages. But this is just why you're qualified. This is just to show you that when we do the global grants, this is really in depth. You know, this is 12 pages of text. They do a site visit. They'll do follow-up questions. Here, this is, now we're getting into the money. This is the equipment that we're purchasing, but here's how we're paying for it. So we've got district designated dollars. We've got cash from club. And our club put up 104,000. That's all from one person. That's from my friend who's the physician. That's from his personal account. But we're still going through answering questions. 12 pages of, so these are really, really in-depth applications. And so it's very different when we do the projects with the Medina School. We're just raising money locally. We send a check. It's much easier. When we do the really big global projects, it's much more difficult. I think that's all I have. And so I just wanted to open the floor for questions. And at the end, I'm going to give you all my contact information. So if you're interested in, if you'd like to do something with the Medina School, please get in touch with me and I'll compile all that information. I see Aniela, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right, that you said you had a question. If you want to go ahead and either say it, you can just say it.
Yes, I have a question regarding grants and Interact. We cannot apply for grants, and Rotary cannot apply for grants either. But my question is there, if in an Interact club, if we have a really good and organized project, is there any way we can either reach out to the Rotary Club and try to make it happen, or like any facility for interactors to create a project, like a high impact project, and be able to maybe partner with Rotary Club and make it happen as a grant?
Yeah. First of all, you can do a project on your own. If it's not a project that requires a global grant, and a global grant project has to have at least a $30,000 budget, so that's a pretty big project. So if your project is, say, a $10,000 or $20,000 project or even less, you can totally do that on your own. Our Rotaract Club at New Tech raised a couple $1,000s for a Native American reservation, and they did that through their own fundraisers. So you can do projects on your own. Now, if you had a big project that was like a global grant project, yes, you have to go through your Rotary Club, and typically you would go through your sponsor club, whoever your Rotary sponsor club is. But anything that doesn't require a global grant, you can do that on your own. unless your local club has set up restrictions on that, we have not where we're at. If Jasmine thinks of a project that her Interact Club wants to do, even one that's pretty big, as long as it doesn't require a global grant, her club can do that.
Awesome, thank you.
And I do always, though, encourage you to reach out to your Rotary Club. And you know why? Because they're great sources of fundraising. So if your Rotary Club that sponsors you knows you're doing the project, chances are they're going to help you with it, and they're going to help you fund it, and they're going to reach out to their contacts. So I always encourage you to coordinate with your Rotary Club, but unless it's a global grant, they don't have to get formally involved with it. And Interact clubs do amazing projects. Does anybody have any other questions?
I think the question is, as an interactors, like as an Interact club, can we partner with other Interact club?
Oh, yeah. Sure you can. If you want to, and that's actually a great idea, and this is a wonderful place to meet other clubs to do that. So you could partner with an Interact club to do a project, or like we're gonna all, if you're interested in, say, helping the Medina School, and 4 of you say you want to do that, I would encourage you, and I would help you lead this, I would encourage you to form a joint work group. And instead of each of your clubs working alone, all work together, because that way you know what each other is doing and you're developing those friendships and those relationships. So I would strongly encourage that. But you could also develop like a twin club or just a affiliated club partnership. Say you're in Canada and you meet somebody from Honduras who's also in Interact, and you kind of want your clubs to communicate and get to know each other. Absolutely, you can do that. And I really, that's what Rotary is all about. So I strongly encourage you to do that. And I encourage you to share your contact information with each other, and reach out to each other. However, whether it's Instagram or whatever you're doing, reach out to each other and get to know each other, because that's what this should all be about, is developing international friendships. And I am also on WhatsApp, because I work so much in India. WhatsApp is the, so I am also on WhatsApp under my cell phone number. I can also be reached by email. So if you are interested in the Medina School and you want to send me your contact information, I will compile all that and pass it on to Francis and Bobby. But if you're interested in all working together, let me know and I'll help coordinate that. And I'll also help you guys develop the project and work through what you need to do an international project if you're interested in that.
That will be awesome. Thank you so much, Holly, for your time. We really appreciate it. I think we learned so much today, and I'm pretty sure we all have ideas of what to do and how to do it regarding international projects. And this is the great place to find a partner. Like, whenever you want to do a project, you can find somebody from that country in this chat room, in this call, in the Rotary Interactive Quarantine in general. So we do twinning meetings with Interact clubs. We have actually this project called Twinning Meetings, where we bring together 2 Interact clubs to meet with one in another country. So for the interactors in this call, if you already participate in the twinning meetings, that's awesome. If you haven't participated in twinning meetings, you can also reach out to me or Lucila or any of the leadership team in Rotary Interactive Quarantine, and we will sign up your club for it.
I think Francis and Bobby wanted to speak.
But, I just wanted to make a comment. I want to thank Holly for giving us the opportunity to share our passion and project with you folks. And we are really very passionate about this project. It's now our full-time job since retirement. And we go at least 2 or 3 times a year. And believe me, it's a full-time job. Since I retired, I've not been busier than, I'm busier now than when I was teaching. There were times when I would say to myself, how did I find time to go to work? But it's good. We love it, and we poured, much of ourselves in it, and it really is paying off. Now we have at least about 100 children.
We've had 110 children graduate
They
now.
are graduated. They are in high school now. And the good thing about it, these kids, when they leave our schools, they are the top student in any of the high schools they've gone to.
So thank you
That's-
very, very
Thank
much
you very
for
much.
listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you, Holly, for your connection with us. And you've been so good in helping us in many ways. And we're coming, we're going to be coming after you, Holly, especially for grant writing.
Hey, everybody else does. I mean,
All right. So
it's not a problem. I will tell everybody listening, if you're ever interested in working in international projects, learn how to write grants. That's probably the next course I should teach people, is how to write grants, because
I mean.
because seriously, we should do that. Do a class on how to write grants, because it's a skill that will let you travel all around the world when you get involved with projects like this, if you know how to do that.
we're in.
I want to, yeah,
We're in,
Francis,
Holly.
I get. I do want to thank all of you for taking time out of your Saturday to be here. And I was scrolling through the chat room just a minute ago. I cannot believe how many different countries are represented on this training. It is so phenomenal. And it's a way where, in this time where there's no travel, we can all get together and get to know each other. And I really hope you follow up with me. And I saw some Instagram addresses to follow. And so I'm busy writing those down. But also, if the hosts of this meeting can put that out to everybody, that would be great too, so that we can see all the different Instagrams that we could be following and learning about other people's clubs.
Awesome. Yes, definitely. We will keep in touch with you, Holly. We have a huge community of interactors that we are really interested in doing international projects. So I think we will have further conversation with you. And it was a pleasure. And thank you so much, Bobby and Francis, for your time and sharing your awesome and wonderful projects. I was like crying whenever the video was playing. It's awesome. And we have training about leadership today, this afternoon at 4 p.m. Central Time, about leadership. And next Saturday, we will have a general meeting with interactors sharing their experiences and projects regarding membership. So how do you get more members in your Interact Club, and how you retain current ones? It's gonna be really fun next meeting. I'm looking forward to see you all there. I don't know if anybody has any questions or comments. This is the moment to do it. And I think we are closing up our first session. It was amazing. I don't know if Lucila, you had something to say, or Jasmine.
I'm actually wordless. I mean, I am totally amazed with this first session. Thank you so much, Francis and Bobby. As Annie said, I cried a little bit, like I'm not lying. That video was so emotional. Holly, you are just amazing, an amazing person, so welcoming, so very, very thank you. I mean, thank you everyone for being here. This is a sort of a special moment for RIQ because our first training seminars organized by interactors. So it's kind of amazing. Thank you, Jasmine, for contact Holly. I mean, you're an amazing teammate. So thank you, everyone, and hope to see you in the second session today.